Wife Material Podcast. Um, picking picking the right guy early in life. One thing I see a lot. I still have great hopes for females, 30 and up, finding the right guy, the great guy, to live happily ever after with, if they choose to be, a wife later in life, or not choose, but you ended up having to be, finally making the decision like, yeah, I want to be a wife, and oh man, I'm running out of time, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So I have hope for the ladies who, hopefully get fortunate enough that they still can get picked to be a wife. So let's see how that works out. But if you're trying to be a traditional wife, then you have to try to get your husband earlier, in your younger years than in your older years. But like I said, I still have hope for the ladies over the age of 30. For the ladies between 20 and 30, preferably, early 20s, you got to start doing better, right? When it comes to vetting guys, you got to start knowing what you truly want at an early age. I always want to give females the benefit of the doubt, especially females who like to learn things. They're open-minded to learning things. A lot of females nowadays talk about being educated. They always like using the fact that they're quote-unquote educated as a selling point when it comes to, being wife material or just being good for a relationship. It's like, oh, I'm educated, I make money, I'm this, that, dude, I'm pretty, blah, 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 right? And it's like, all right, I like smart females. Well, I like smart humans in general. I don't like dumb people, but I like smart people. So I like smart women. But ironically, on average, most females aren't as smart as they should be, or aren't as smart as they think they are. So that creates an issue at certain situations. But let's assume that you're, 20 or even 18, like, between 18 and 30, right? Within that time range. But for me, the thing is, between 18 and 20, those 2 years is your transition from, being a teenager, right? Being dependent on your family to being independent, right? Or self-dependent. Not being independent, but self-sufficient, right? Self-dependent, right? Self-reliant. That's what I meant. Self-reliant. Relying on yourself to be able to take care of yourself, right? Be an adult is the most common term. Be an adult. So those are the 2 years that you learn to be an adult. Then, when you're in 20, right? 20 and up, that's when you should be doing the whole relationship thing, right? That's if you want to be in a relationship. If you ultimately want to, be a wife, that's when you're supposed to start doing it, right? Supposed to start vetting, which doesn't mean, dating sex. Obviously, it means talking, just even talking to guys, just talking, getting to know them, right? Not a problem with talking with multiple guys, just in the talking phase aspect, right? Don't, be careful about your conversations. Don't lead them on, right? Don't try to avoid the conversation being sexual. Just make it more where it's like you're trying to get to know the person for who they are, personality, right? Because personalities should be top priority. Secondarily, the sexual stuff, the sexual chemistry, right? The vibe, all that stuff there, I like, comes afterwards. But first and foremost should be the personality, because that's the thing that you're going to use to like or dislike the guy in the first place. The guy could be great in bed, but have a shitty personality. So that's why it's like that's the last thing you should be thinking about is sex. The first thing you should be thinking about is personality, because a lot of things I see on average online is females complaining about, oh, this guy, why didn't he marry me or make me his girlfriend or this and that. Why he's out here, playing games, this, that, and the third. And it's like, well, because it was obvious that he was not interested in any long-term stuff. It was obvious that he was a fuckboy, but you wanted to ignore it because you found him attractive. Well, you found him attractive and he was a fuckboy. So you judged him based off of your attraction to him. So the only reason you noticed him is because you were aroused by him. That's why you noticed him. Same reason why a guy would notice a hot chick in a crowd of a whole bunch of chicks, hot, like his type, like a chick that would turn him on, is because she turned him on, right? He saw her and it's like, oh shit, that's hot. That does something for me. Even though there's a whole bunch of females, but there was one that stood out to him, right? And the same goes for females. Females do that as well. They'll ignore every guy until they see that one guy that stands out, and that's the whole point. Since he stood out, you gave him a shot. Since he turned you on, you think you're in love. When it's not, it's just sexual attraction. That's it, right? So that's why you gotta learn to ask questions to get to know him, right? You gotta act like you're interviewing him for the job, for a job, right? Just like he should be, vetting you and questioning you and stuff like that. But one red flag is if the guy's not trying to get to know you, right? If he's not asking questions about you, then he doesn't care about you, right? Logically, he doesn't care about you. Clearly, his plans are limited since he's not trying to remember what's your favorite food, what's your favorite color, things like that. He's not trying to remember the names of your, family members, friends, whatever. Like, since he's not putting effort to memorize things about you, then that just means he only has one thing in mind, and that one thing obviously is generic, and he can get it anywhere. And right now you're just the thing, the one that he could get it from, if you're foolish enough to give it to him, right? And I've seen on some TikToks some females out here thinking that giving the guy what he wants, right, giving the fuckboy what he wants, it's him losing, her winning. It's like, no, he won. All he wanted was just that, so he got it, so he won. I don't know where these females have all this backwards mentality, thinking that if you give a fuckboy your booty, then you won, not him. That's not how that works. His goal was to get the booty, and he got it, regardless if it was him who convinced you to give it to him, or you chose to quote unquote give it to him because you felt like it and it was your decision, not his, or some bullshit like that. It's like, nah, he wins. The way he doesn't win is if you don't give him anything. If you don't give him none, then he doesn't win, and then you can say you won because you had control of the situation. But anyway, whatever. That's I'll say that's little girl logic right there, thinking that giving somebody what they want is them losing, right? Just like, oh my God, this girl is trying to steal my man. Well, I'm gonna break up with him. You lost. You didn't win. Have self-respect. Blah blah blah. No, you lost in this situation. This is not about respect, because you let the other female win by letting him go. Now he's available for her, and she's gladly going to take him. So she wins. She got what she wanted. If he ends up with her, you lost. The way you win is if you can keep him. If you can block her from trying to take your man. That's when you win. When she doesn't get your man. It makes no sense to claim him as yours, right? You can't say he's your man if you'll willingly give it to her. Like, you don't win by giving somebody what's yours, right? Like you can't. It's not how you deal with the situation, right? If something's about to break, you don't go ahead and then break it, right? It's like, oh my god, it looks like it's gonna break. Okay, I'm gonna break it anyway. Like that doesn't fix the problem. That just made the problem worse. You just sped up the problem. If you're afraid that your boyfriend will leave you for another female, the best thing to do is not break up with him, because that guarantees he will be with another female. The best thing you can do is see if it's, if you're doing anything that's causing the possibility of him leaving. It could just be all in your imagination, right? It could just be, you thinking that he'll leave you, but in reality he's not, right? So double check to make sure that always check to see if it's you, not them, right? Because a lot of people like to blame other people when it's like, no, look at yourself first, see if you're the problem first before you start trying to see problems on others. But anyway, like I was saying, choosing better. You need to, the sooner the better, right? The sooner you realize that, the guys you put in your friend zones are the guys that you should be getting to know, right? The who they are at the current time, but also see their potential, right? Because if you got some good quality guys around you that are trying to aspire to, do things with their lives, maybe somebody wants to be a doctor, maybe somebody wants to be the president of the United States of America, whatever, you might want to, put your hat in the ring, as they say, right? You might want to let them know that you're interested, just so that their eyes don't wander elsewhere and they, some other female ends up getting them, right? End up getting the good guy that you could have, right? Because the thing I'm trying to say is that I'm not against you wanting to have some fun with the bad boys. Just don't do too many of them, obviously. Keep your body count low, but understand that you should leave it at, just spending time, getting their attention, just enjoying the company, having fun, but not the sexual kind, but just having fun. Or at least if you're going to do the sexual thing, at least, again, in moderation. Don't be fucking a pig, right? And just try to take every advantage, because you will regret it. And women always regret it. They always do. It has been proven historically that females always regret their body count. They always do. Not just because guys, have an issue with it, right? Guys point it out, guys judge you based off of it. It's the fact that y'all judge yourselves and each other based off of your body counts. Y'all tend to slut shame each other way more, right? Y'all tend to talk about how more valuable one of y'all is versus the other when it comes to stuff like that. Because again, it's about quality over quantity. So that's why if you have a lower body count, then that means you had quality men that were worthy of you when your body count's low. When you have a high body count, those guys weren't worthy. They just were available. That's the difference, because that means a whole bunch of guys shoot their shot and you just kept accepting it. You didn't vet them, right? You didn't screen them, right? You didn't make sure that only the best of the best got through and scored, right? You let every guy score, and that's not cute. That's not high value to let every guy score. Especially if you believe in the whole patriarchy idea. You think in a patriarchy having a high body count makes you valuable? No. Right? As a female, having a high body count as a male in a patriarchy, does that make you sound like a high value, guy? Does that make you popular in a patriarchy if you're a guy with a high body count? Sounds like it would, wouldn't it? So if females like to believe in the whole patriarchy thing, then obviously in a patriarchy, high body count would not be acceptable, won't be cool. So if you want to interact with guys, right, in a patriarchy, as it were, then having a low body count makes you highly valuable because you're rare. The less guys can say they had sex with you, the more valuable you are, because only a select few can say they did, and the ones who can say they did can say, well, yeah, I mean, she doesn't get around. She's tough. She has standards. Well, that's why it's so funny to hear females nowadays just talking about, I have standards, when they have a body count over 30 and stuff like that. It's like, you don't have standards. You don't have standards. You have demands. There's a difference. You have demands. You want more. You want more stuff because you think you're valuable. So you're trying to trade your goodies for stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's not good. You're maxing out your credit card, right? You're maxing out your credit card, which is your vagina, and your credit score number is high. But in the patriarchy, that's a bad thing to have your vagina score being high, because that means because that's not credit score, balance. That's your credit balance, right? So your balance is high. Since your balance is high, and then you can't undo, right? You can't pay off that high balance on your credit card, your vagina card, right? Your V card. There you go, V card. Since you put a huge balance on your V card, you can't pay it off because there's no way to pay it off. Time will not pay for it, right? You can't undo it, right? You can't zero it out. All it does is just accumulate over time. So that's the problem, is that if you keep letting it accumulate and keep letting the balance go, that means you have a debt. You have a V card debt, and most guys are not interested in taking on the debt, because the thing is, a lot of the guys in your body count, that's already in your body count, they should be the ones wifing you up, right? Should be the ones giving you a relationship, but none of them did. So you just kept ranking up all this debt, right? All this balance, right? All this credit, V card balance, and now you want some other guy to pay for it. You want some other guy to take on all these other guys' obligations, because they were there first, and they should have claimed you, but they didn't. So now you want some other guy to clear your debt, so to speak, to take you with your high balance. So nah, most guys are not going to take a V card with a high balance. A V card with a low balance is acceptable because they have no problem adding to it, because they know they're not adding that much to it, and they know it has value. The problem is that if you use your V card too much, you're drastically losing value. Socially you're losing value, physically, right? Because there are physical effects of having a high body count. It's not like it's not, because remember, body count refers to the fact that you actually had intercourse. It's not you gave a guy a hand job, or you just went on a date and ate free food and smiled and left. Like, that's not a body count, right? So if you dated 1,000 guys, okay, you dated them. Unless you fucked them all, you don't have 1,000 body count, obviously. But that's the thing. It's like, what we're talking about is every time you use the V card, right? Every time you use the V card, then that creates and like I said, a balance. And most guys are not interested in a female with a high V card balance. That's why it's always a good idea to try to get a guy early that you can, spend the rest of your life with, that has potential, to be the type of guy, you would like to be with, for the rest of your life, and get him early. Try to figure out, how he handles stressful situations, how he handles problems, whether it be money, social, political, whatever, right? Maybe spiritual if you're into that. How he handles interacting with other human beings, right? Because we don't live alone on this world, right? So we have to interact with society, interact with other people. So you got to see, how he handles, other people, who he's friends with, right? Who his enemies are. That's important to know. It's important to know his enemies, right? And the list goes on. If anything, right, you should be helping, finding a guy who has potential and then build him up. Now, some females hate the idea of building up a guy because, like, well, if I build him up and then he leaves me for another female, it's like, is that possible? Yes. Is that necessarily a bad thing? No. Because, one, you should definitely have been trying to build up multiple guys, not just one guy, but build up multiple guys. I'm not talking about necessarily, like, build them up in a way that, like, you put a whole bunch of money into them, a whole lot of time and effort to the point where, like, now they're high value and now they have options, blah, blah, blah type stuff. No, I mean, like, build them up as in, through inspiration, right? Through making them understand that they can do more, that they have the potential to be better, and they should at least try. Most guys don't need much in order to achieve greatness. Like, you don't have to do the work for them. The idea is just to remind them that they're capable of doing anything. Basically, let me put it this way. Building them up by being a cheerleader, not necessarily build them up by, literally like, okay, he has a business idea, I'm going to put a whole bunch of money in there. Like, no, you could, however, you could. I'm not telling you not to. You could. I'm just saying that that's not necessarily what you have to do to build a guy up. When I'm talking about, like, build up his confidence, right? Like, his ability. Like, if he's the type of guy that, typically tries to avoid talking to people, then help him be better at talking with people. That's important because his ability to communicate and talk to people will be helpful for him to build a network, for him to, meet people who could open up doors and opportunities for him to improve and become better. Like, so you can teach him to be more sociable, right? Teach him how to communicate better. Teach him how to dress better, right? To smell better, and so forth and so forth, right? To present himself better, right? These are the things that you should be able to do for him, right? To build him up, so that way he could do more, right? But you definitely want him to know that, to be inspired by you, right? You don't want him to feel like everything he did without you being his motivation. Make sure that he knows that you've done stuff for him. Try not to do things, secretly, right? Don't try to, do things behind his back is what I'm trying to say. Like, don't do things to try to improve him without him knowing that that's what you're doing, right? Make it obvious that you're improving him, right? That it's like, hey, look, I got you this outfit, or hey, go with him when he's shopping and point out what kind of outfits look good on him, what colors look good on him. You know what I mean? Try to compromise, be reasonable. Don't demand things. Don't be stubborn and like, no, you have to get this. It looks better, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying, be very suggestive, right? Suggest a lot of things for him to improve by, right? Give him options, right? Give him suggestions. I tend to do that with a lot of people where they'll ask me for my opinions. Like, well, I don't have much of an opinion, but what I do have is suggestions. So this is what I suggest you could do. That way, it's at the end of the conversation, whatever decision they make is their decision. It wasn't largely influenced by me. I just gave them more knowledge, more information, right? Similar to Google, right? Like when you type on Google and then it gives you suggestions, right? Like, are you looking for this? Is this what do you mean? Right? So that's what I do when people ask me for my opinions or ask me a question, right? Or asks me to like make a decision. Typically, I just give suggestions. I mean, a lot of times I do just flat out make the decision. for them. Depending on the situation, I just flat out make the decision. But on average, I tend to just be like, all right, well, since you don't know what to eat, well, here are some options. So then I make suggestions of what they could eat, and then ultimately up to them to decide, you know, if what they like. But sometimes I do be like, well, I'm in the mood for pizza or something, and they'll be like, yeah, pizza sounds great. All right, let's get pizza, and there we go. And that tends to be, how it goes. Sometimes people just want to know what I think or what I want, and I gotta give them what I think or what I want. But sometimes it's just like, hey, in general, what should we eat? And I'm like, all right, well, in general, here are our options. We could eat here, right? And then we come to a mutual agreement. Sorry, mutual agreement on what the end result's going to be. And the same thing should be for vetting a guy. When it comes to a guy, you want to make sure that, yeah, I want to make sure that I pick a guy sooner than later, because I want to be there from the beginning, to the end, as they say, and get the most out of the situation, right? You don't want to wait until he's already doing good in life and then try to, scoop in like, hey, how you doing? Because then, if other females already threw in their ring and their hat into the ring, then you could have missed out your opportunity. Or hopefully you didn't do this, is you rejected him, and then he does better later on, and then suddenly you try to shoot your shot, and it's like, oh well, he's not gonna forget that you rejected him before. I've even recently saw a TikTok where a female was complaining about some guys don't be looking at her, but it was like this one guy in particular at a Starbucks or something like that, who worked at the Starbucks, wasn't looking at her when she was taking her orders and this, that, and the third, and she felt some type of way, and I was thinking, like, there's a possibility that guy liked you. He tried to shoot his shot, you shot him down, and because you don't remember that you did that, because he was invisible to you, he wasn't your type, so of course you're not going to remember shooting him down. You're only going to remember the guys you actually dated. You're not going to remember just random dudes that tried to date you but just shot him down. But he didn't forget, so now he's treating you some type of way, like you're an asshole because you were. And the fact that you don't even remember that you shot him down, that that you rejected him, it's even more disrespectful. That you don't even recognize him, so no surprise that he's treating you some type of way. But the fact that you don't remember is like, well, see, there's the problem. You're not realizing that because she tried to make it seem like, oh, I was being nice and I'm a good person, and why they treat me this way? It's like, because you think you're a good person doesn't mean you are. The rest of the world is clearly telling you you're not, because of the way everybody else is treating you. Right? You could try to be nice, but trying is not the same. That's the funny thing. I've been in scenarios where, I'm definitely wasn't trying to be nice, but people were nice to me anyway, and people acted like I was a nice person. People say nice things about me, even though I'm like, yeah, I don't really talk to you, and when I do, I'm always disagreeing with you. So it's weird that you think I'm a nice person, considering the fact that I barely talk to you, and when I do, it's always disagreeing with you, always saying you're wrong about something. So you would think you would get the impression that I'm an asshole, but instead, you see me as a nice person. Okay, I don't disagree. I'm not necessarily a bad person. It's just the fact that it's like, our interactions should give you a different impression of me, but instead it didn't. Some people sometimes can't see through certain situations, right? Or some people are just blind to certain red flags. Most females, y'all understand. Most of y'all ladies know what I'm talking about. Y'all definitely, ignore certain red flags. Oh my God, he's so great. He's so nice to me. Yeah, nice to you, but he's an asshole to everybody else. which means he's actually a douchebag. He's a piece of shit, but because he's being nice to you, suddenly he's a total angel. He's a perfect guy. Like, no, he's not. He's just being nice to you because he wants something from you. Right? Attention. Your booty, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, trust me, once he's, you'll see the truth. Once he no longer wants you for anything, right? He's going to treat you like he treats everybody else. You're just fortunate that right now he's being nice to you while being an asshole to everybody else. But at some point, that's going to change. And that's the problem. Is that y'all ignoring what's obvious. But oh well. This is why I'm talking about you need to pick better. You need to learn how to vet guys. You need to see the red flags. The problem is that it's funny to see a lot of TikTok videos of females talking about red flag. This is a red flag. This is a red flag. I'm like, no, those aren't red flags. You're reaching. Like, that's not a red flag. He doesn't post. He doesn't post me on his social medias. That's a red flag. He's trying to hide me from other girls. Blah blah blah. It's like, no, that's what you females do. That's not what guys do. Guys typically don't, post the females they're with online, especially if it's just, if he's just, dating or something. Like, if it's just like, oh yeah, she's cool, she's sexy, I fucks with her, and then that's it. It's like, unless guys typically post their wives when they have a wife, then they start posting. But they don't. Guys typically don't post their girlfriends unless they're like very. Here's the thing: a guy who gets a lot of who's very popular with females, don't be posting females online unless he's trying to show off, right? He's one of those types of guys, right? He's like, hey, look at me, I got money, cars, and a whole bunch of women. Okay, that's that type of guy, right? But then you have the other type of guy that's like, yeah, I'm very popular with ladies, I date a lot, but I'm not gonna post them on the internet, right? It's nobody's business who I date. But then there's like I said, then there's the husband scenario where it's like, yeah, he will post his wife, not a lot, but like he'll post to make it clear, like, hey, I have wife and kids, I'm not available, that kind of stuff. But typically guys tend to be less, showy online, unless they're, essentially a fuckboy, right? A playboy, a guy who wants the world to see him as, cool. Then he'll be parading around what he got, which is females, cars, money, materialistic things, right? Right? He'll post pictures of himself with celebrities that he met once for that exact picture, and that's it. It's not like he hangs out with those people. Like, people who do things for clout. So you got the clout chaser type of guys who will show off their girlfriends because it's largely for clout, it's largely to flex, to be like, hey, look, I'm not a virgin. Look at me, right? But there's other guys that typically don't post their girlfriends online because it's nobody else's business, and they definitely don't want other guys, commenting on their girl's looks, right? Definitely don't want them to find her Instagram and then start, DMing her and shit, start talking shit about them, right? Start talking shit about the boyfriend, like, oh, your boyfriend ain't shit. He's short. You should be with me. I'm taller. Blah blah blah. All this nonsense, right? Because there are guys like that, just like there are females like that, Just like it's not a good idea for you to go around, posting images of your boyfriend, because if some females find your boyfriend attractive, or right, they will shoot their shot. Especially if he has an Instagram, they will shoot their shot, and you should already know this. I shouldn't have to tell females about how other females behave. Y'all should already know this. The thing is that us guys, men, right, we're not dumb. We know women very well. That's one of the things we study. One of the things we are very good at understanding, because we understand a lot of things. If I can understand quantum physics, I can understand a woman. Trust me. It's funny to see online a lot of females try to make it seem like, oh, women are so complicated. No, you're not. You're actually very simple. You're almost as simple as a guy. The only thing is that what makes y'all simple is different than what makes us simple. What makes us simple is, is logic. What makes y'all simple is emotions. The thing is that y'all try to be complicated by saying things and doing things to try to make it seem like you're different and unique, but realistically, the way you function, the way you live your life is based off your emotions. So that, and the fact that since you're based off of emotions, that means you want happiness, and whatever makes you happy is what you want. It's what you're interested in. It's what you chase. You chase happiness. Since you're constantly chasing happiness, that's how simple you are. It takes very little for a guy to be happy, right? Because guys ain't searching for. Since guys aren't emotional, they're logical. The littlest things, the simplest things in life, makes us happy, right? We only need a little bit of happiness. We don't need a lot of happiness. Females need more happiness than guys do, because again, like I said, emotions. Your whole existence is based off of how you feel. So, and happiness is one of those feelings, and it's a feeling that you want to have the most. But sometimes you want to feel other emotions like sadness, anger, depression, blah, 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 right? Despair, anger. So you'll do things to literally do that. Like females literally will create a fight just so they can experience anger. It's like, why do you want to feel that feeling? Why do you want to be angry at me for no reason? But whatever, I get it. Everything you do is based off of emotions. The emotional spectrum is not based off of common sense or logic, like how guys are. So it's like, okay, me, I care about things being simple, easy to understand, taking things that are complicated and make it simple. So females aren't as complicated as they would like people to believe. Y'all just as simple as we are. Y'all just simple in a different way. This is why a lot of females get manipulated easily by fuckboys, right? By guys who understand, like, oh, okay, her emotions is what controls her, right? She makes decisions and does things based off her emotion. Okay, so all I have to do is mess around with her emotion, right? Manipulate her emotions, control her emotions, make her happy, at the right time, make her sad at the right time, like a drug dealer, right? Here's uppers and downers, and supply her with emotions, right? Supply her with happiness and sadness, so that way you can have her on a roller coaster ride of emotions, right? It's just the nature, right? Literally nature, For guys, it's about logic, it's about reasoning, it's about being rational, facts, right? If you could prove to me that I'm wrong, then okay, you win. But you can't use your emotions or your opinions to try to prove me wrong when I'm not. It's like, no, you need facts to prove me wrong. I'm not wrong until there's actual proof of it, right? I'm right until I'm wrong. Until I'm wrong, not the other way around. I'm not wrong until I'm right. No, I'm right until I'm wrong. So you gotta have proof. Because I don't spend every day trying to be wrong. I spend every day learning, so I'm right. So I'm not wrong until you can prove it, right? So that's the thing. It's like you really need to try to figure out what's the most important things for you. A guy who makes you laugh, right? If laughter makes you happy, that's what you want. If a guy, being health conscious makes you happy, and the list goes on, right? Like, start writing down a list of things that makes you happy, right? And then have that as your standards. It shouldn't be, a guy who's 6 feet makes me happy. A guy who goes to the gym makes me happy. A guy who's a billionaire makes me happy. Like, no, come on. Like, be realistic. I'm talking about, like, shit that makes you happy in general. If food makes you happy, all right, write that down. Food. Right? If watching movies makes you happy, boom. If traveling makes you happy, boom, right? Like things like that. Like if these types of things makes you happy because, like, learning things makes you happy, right? If you're into, intellectual things, write that down, right? Like, and then, I mean, don't make a huge list. Obviously, the idea is like you're trying to create a short list of basic things that makes you happy, and try to find guys that have those qualities, right? No one's perfect, not even you. So stop expecting perfection. Stop expecting you'll find the perfect guy. The perfect guy, ironically, is the guy who's not perfect. The perfect guy for you is the guy whose laugh annoys you. But if he was to die tomorrow, it'll be the one thing that you will be crying over, wishing you can hear his annoying laugh, right? Things like that. And guys think the same way. There's things that guys don't like about certain females that they date, right? That they're in a relationship or married to. But after they lose their significant other, that's the things that they dwell on. That's the things that they miss. Like, oh man, I miss her, her laughter, or, I miss the way she breathes, or I miss the way she looks at me when she's angry, and little things like that, right? Like, things you think he doesn't notice, he'd notice. And the things you're like, oh man, he hates that I do this, he hates that I do that. Ironically, those are the things he's going to miss the most. Those are the things he's going to love the most. Ironically, are the things that he hates. Because the thing is that, yeah, he can hate, he could be annoyed, he'd be like, oh yeah, I don't like that. But that's what makes you, you. He don't like it because it's like, well, every other girl I dated didn't laugh like that. And, but that's the point. Since every other girl didn't laugh like that, and only you do, if you're not with him no more, that's the thing he's going to remember. That's the thing he's going to miss. Like, damn, I'm going to miss that thing that made her different than every other girl, is that damn laugh. Right? So you'd be surprised. What guys care about, it's not just the booty. Sometimes it's your annoying behavior, the annoying noises you make, the movies you like. You know what I mean? Your bad cooking. Obviously, your cooking shouldn't be bad. Obviously, it should be relatively good. But you get the point. The things that he'll be like he don't like tends to be the things he loves. That's what I'm trying to say. The things he don't like over time will be the things he loves. So let's say he doesn't like short hair. Again, to each their own, right? That's a preference. But you're the exception. On you, the short hair, eventually he ends up loving it because, it's what makes you you. It's part of who you are, as opposed to, you being just like every other chick. I tell guys, a lot about being an exception, right? Females have quote-unquote standards, right? They want a guy who's tall and good-looking, has money, blah, 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 great personality, all that stuff, right? But usually females will ultimately choose, like close to the, very, very late in life, will choose the guy that doesn't meet any of those standards, the total opposite. Like, they'll be like, oh, I want Superman. Okay, yeah, you want Superman, but but later in life, you'll end up with Clark Kent, mild mannered reporter. You're not going to end up with Superman. You might want Superman, but typically you'll end up with Clark Kent. But that's the one that works for you. That's the one that, you'll be able to spend the rest of your life with, ironically. And that's the end of the podcast.